You're listening to the Shit You Can't Make Up podcast, a conversation with friends, hosted by Marisol Sanchez. You are listening to the Shit You Can't Make Up podcast, a conversation with friends, hosted by Marisol Sanchez.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hey guys. I'm really bad at the intro. You want to take over? Do the intro? I know it's my podcast, but go ahead. You have a better podcasting voice.
What do you want me to say?
Who you are?
Hey guys, I'm Cliff Cash. I'm a stand-up comedian.
All right. Let me interrupt.
Okay, I'm doing a bad job.
So this is Cliff Cash. This is Shit You Can't Make Up, and I am Marisol. And thank you for listening. I went to see you on Friday, so I'm going to tell the audience a little backstory.
Okay.
I love comedians. I love comedy. I'm not a comedian, but I'm a connoisseur of comedy. I've seen comedy all over the United States, not the world. But you are good.
Thank you so much.
You're like legitimately good. And
thank you.
I wanted to have you on the show because you're smart. And this is what I wrote, what I thought about it. You were intelligent. It was raw. It was vulnerable, and it was relatable, which is like hitting it out of the park for
wow.
a bit.
Thank you so much.
So, and
I feel really cocky now. I'm just gonna leave
on a high note.
Is there bad stuff coming next?
No.
That's how my life's been lately. Like, oh, this is really good. What?
Well, you
now I have to get my leg chopped off. Damn it.
No, you're from Wilmington. Most of the listeners.
Well, I'm from North Carolina. Okay. I've lived in Wilmington, in or around Wilmington, for about 13 years.
You headlined over at Dead Crow this weekend, and you taped a special.
Yep, we taped all 4 shows, and so I wore the same outfit for this is how specials work typically. Not all of them. Sometimes people just tape one show. Because if you're already famous, you pretty much put out whatever you want, and your fans are going to love it anyway. And if you're at that level, you're probably a crushing comedian anyway. But we taped all 4 because we wanted to have the option of deciding which show was best, and maybe we use a whole show, or maybe we go, hey, that one show was really strong, but there was one bit in this other show that really did well, and we just want the option to be able to sort of pick the hits, kind of cherry pick it and make it as good as it can be, because it'll be my first thing that's really out there in a big way, hopefully, and I need it to be.
It looked solid. I went to the Friday 9:30. It was just solid. You looked
Thank you.
I thought because they've had really good talent at
Sure, they bring in the best comedians in the country, for sure.
It's a great, and by the way, if Timmy ever listens to this, I'm a VIP. I'm there every weekend. I should get a free drink.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No, just kidding.
Absolutely. I'll just call in my credit card to get you a drink, and just even if they don't agree to it, I'll be like, listen, a friend of mine's there.
Even the waitress is like, you come here a lot. I'm like, I know.
Can I get a beer? Keeping the lights on.
And I bring people too. No, I'm kidding. So I've seen a lot of high-end, or I don't know, what do you call them? The most really super famous comedians.
The upper echelon talent-wise, at least.
Yours was tight. It was just, and that was Friday, so
I tell you what, the early shows were better.
Really?
And no offense to the crowds, because I'm grateful for every crowd, but for whatever reason, I think that there's a long line. They were all sold out, so there were no tickets at the door at all. Mm-hmm. So everyone there already had tickets, but had to wait. 130 people each show waiting on the sidewalk to get into the club. And so I think that's a little bit of an energy thing for them. Maybe it's like nobody really likes to wait in line, but there's no way around it. I mean, it's no one's fault, but it is what it is. And then I think the staff flips the room really quick, and I think that's kind of stressful. So, I don't mean it in a bad way, but comedy is literally energy. It's all about energy, and I think those two things affect the energy of the crowd and the staff just a little bit, mm-hmm. and probably affects their interaction a little bit with each other energy-wise. And it just felt different, both shows. And it's not always that way at every club, and I haven't really noticed it at Dead Crow, I don't think, but I'm also not there much. I'm just gone all the time.
The only difference,
but I loved all of them.
Yeah, I picked up from my perspective, the energy was great. It had that someone, they didn't propose, but they did some like weird. Maybe that was
that?
Yeah, maybe that
golly. Yeah, it was so funny. It's like my whole hour is about my wife, my divorce, my dad dying, and my marriage basically ending kind of out of the blue. Very, very big surprise to me, unfortunately. Not the kind of surprise you want to get. And I'm talking about heavy stuff, and like this guy's like proposed to his wife, who he's already married to.
Yeah.
He's like, I forgot a couple of our anniversaries, and kind of feeling like an asshole, so I'm going to do something sweet. Did he get her a ring? I couldn't see that. It looked like he had a ring, which if he'd give her a new ring, that's cool.
Kind of checked out at the word marriage.
Yeah. You're like, this hurts to even think about. Yeah, I just thought it was funny. Is like, here's this comedian who's, I'm filming a special called Tough Year.
Yeah.
Part of which is about going through a divorce right now.
Well, I wanted to break down your set a little bit.
Sure.
Because the way I wrote it out is how I wanted to talk. What I liked about it. So when I wrote Intelligent. You are obviously very smart. It comes across.
My IQ's like 180 something. Yeah, I'm brilliant. I'm kidding. I don't know. Am I? I didn't finish school. I don't know how smart. I don't read tons of books.
This is what I thought was very smart of you, living here in Wilmington, North Carolina, understanding the dynamics here, and being a liberal. Hearing you do your politics, it's probably the best I've seen someone do it to this crowd, which was smart, was polite, you got your point across, and no one felt like they were idiots.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is such a disservice that comedians are doing right now. And you're like actually the first person I've seen do that.
That's a big compliment. Thank you.
That's
exactly what I want to do. That's what the kind of comedy I really am trying to pull off, and it's hard.
And you did it very well. Hold on, I'm like super dehydrated.
And you can't do it all the time, and you can't do it everywhere. I mean, some of that material I cannot do at Jim Bob's barbecue and Chuckle Shack. It
was perfect because this is how I feel.
I know the audience here. I know the town, and I know that the lion's share of those people know my comedy and came to specifically see my comedy. There's a few people who stumbled in hoping I was hoping there were some racist puppets or something, and this fella up here saying smart shit, There were a few because they've been on social media talking about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a Make America Great Again lady who didn't like my comedy, surprisingly enough. I was like,
was she at the show?
Was it when I called Donald Trump a basic bitch? Is that the part where I lost you? Tracy, sorry.
I think there's a population that's just going to be angry, pissed off.
Yeah,
both sides, regardless.
I very much dislike Donald Trump, but I tried to take the edges off of it a little bit.
And you didn't insult his supporters. I thought you did that brilliantly. Which that's when other comedians do that and do the whole redneck, idiot, deplorable act. Mm-hmm. It pains me, and I'm a liberal. But my best friends probably voted for Trump.
Yeah.
So, and I know them.
Well, you can get them books for Christmas then. Okay.
No, I mean not all of them.
My oldest friend is conservative. My mom is very conservative, very religious, and I think you can't just put people in a box. I mean, people have their reasons, and I can't think of a single good one to like Donald Trump. But also, I don't know if I said it in that show, but I said, the Democratic Party couldn't beat Donald Trump. So there's work to do there, too, obviously.
The Democratic Party, and I've said this before and I've written about it, is horrible at marketing. They keep
moving right, which is not what they need to do. They're trying to appeal because they think that the right is growing, and unfortunately, some of that is. But
I wrote this whole thing. Here's anecdotal. The only people that write me who are upset about what I write aren't Christians, aren't conservatives, are liberals. When I write about Trump and then they feel that, because I'm like, my point is the reason he won is because we're dicks. That's in my opinion. We come off as elitist, condescending.
I'm guilty of that in the past.
And so have
I'm trying to not be that way anymore.
So have I. It's not going to gain. And then when I look at my friends who did vote for Trump or who have always been a Republican, who are conditioned, who see it as a part of their upbringing, culture, whatever reason they
Whoever's
have.
the Republican nominee, that's who I'm voting for.
I don't think a lot of them thought he was going to win, and they're dealing with processing their own emotions over all this shit.
Their own shame and guilt.
I don't feel like the rest of us need to be just constantly berating them. And I don't even want to go on Facebook. It's like some things are funny, and yes, I will laugh and like something. He offers a lot of opportunities to be made fun of.
Sure.
But I think we come off as assholes.
When I talk about Donald Trump on stage, to me, it's really just a relevant current event type of way for me to segue into material about racism. Mm-hmm. And people go, oh, you're a comedian, you must have a lot of material about Trump. And I don't. I have a lot of material about racism, and that's pretty much the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so, I want to touch on a bigger issue that's really at the core of the problem, and that guy's just a symptom of the problem. Yeah,
and I think, I think the part I liked the most was how you didn't insult his support. I don't specifically
Well, it's weird you say that because I meant to. I'm kidding. I must have forgotten to on that show.
Well, obviously you did someone.
On all the other shows, I said, get the hell out of here right now. I'm kidding.
Get out now.
No, I try to, I think that for me, that's the kind of comedy, I watch people like George Carlin and how smart he is and how poignant the material was. And but some of it was pretty abrasive sometimes or whatever. And I like it. I wouldn't change a thing about it. But so I want to take that kind of intelligent angle, mm-hmm. but take the edges off a little bit. Not because I'm afraid to leave them on there, but because I want everybody in the crowd to have fun. That's what comedy, they came to have fun.
I also think it serves a greater purpose, because if you're not offending people, maybe they'll open their
it's like putting a pill in your dog's dog treat, It's like
I'll follow through with it.
You know what I mean? That's the metaphor. It's like, hey, there's a thought inside of this thing you're laughing at, and I hope that you don't know until it's too late.
Yeah.
I hope maybe I made you just question how dumb your racist beliefs are without you knowing it, and maybe that'll resonate as time goes on. But I mean, that's the goal. I mean, there's only so much you can do as a comic. I don't wear a cape. I can't get up there and force people to think the way I think, but it's important to me to have a message I wouldn't do it otherwise. If it was on dick jokes and fart jokes, I would have quit a weekend. I want to say something. My first bit I ever did at open mic was about abortion and religion and Sarah Palin and some other stuff.
So how long have you been doing it? Because that's
6.5 years.
Because it was really solid.
Thank you.
I mean, very professional. So I was like,
I take it really seriously. I work on it a lot. I mean, and I just do it all the time. Like I haven't been here really almost at all in 6 months for more than a few days at a time. So
the other thing I wrote down was raw and vulnerable, because
you're gonna make me cry.
Because you also, I think, and this is one of my favorite, the reason I think I love comedy or feel a kinship to it is because I think comedians process their shit using comedy.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know how not to.
And in my writing, even in the podcasting, that's sort of me processing my shit. So, sure. And there's a degree of vulnerability in that.
Yeah.
Or at least the comedians I like are extremely vulnerable.
There's a big degree of vulnerability in just being on the stage with just a microphone in general. Even if you're just doing fart jokes, you know what I mean? It's like you're totally opening yourself up to rejection and
constantly.
Constantly. And I really, really very much dislike rejection and always have, which is why I've spent my life trying.
I think most people do.
Which is why I've spent my life trying so hard to be funny, because I want people to like me. I want girls to like me and my schoolmates, and my dad was really funny when I was a kid, and it just made me so happy when he would be silly, and I was like, I want to be funny like my dad,
And you talked about your dad. He passed away.
Yeah, I lost my dad about a year ago, a little over a year ago now, and that was the hardest thing in my life so far, for sure. And I mean, you think about it your whole life, like, man, I'm going to lose my parents one day, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to go on, or you just you will, I guess, but it's devastating. I mean, I'm glad I had him until I was 36, and not I didn't. I guess he died when I was 35. He died a couple weeks before my birthday, but
let me share a story with you, maybe make you feel a little bit better. I
feel great
about your father's passing.
I couldn't feel better. No, not about the passing.
Well, no, you were so close to him and admired him and loved him so much that you have these, intense emotions about his passing.
Yeah.
To counter that, my father died alone. They didn't find his body for almost weeks.
Oh, man.
There's,
it's so
I did
heavy.
not have the relationship I had with my father that you had with your father. And so when I listen to you or any of my friends talk about that stage in life, it's always like a little jealousy, like, oh, I wish,
well, it's shitty that you're jealous. I'm kidding.
No.
I'm totally kidding.
I'm not jealous of your parents' death. I'm jealous of the love that created this pain. So just give me
I hate that for you. Like that. That makes me sad that I would have let you borrow my dad if he was still around. You can hang out with my mom anytime you want to.
As
long as you don't cuss.
Father-in-law, I cuss all the time. My ex.
Don't cuss in front of my mom. She'll stab you.
I'll try not to.
She texts me. She says, "Have fun at your show tonight. Just don't cuss."
Oh.
And I'll say, "Mom, how about this? I won't do anything that I think is morally wrong."
Good for you.
And I
don't think you did.
That's the thing. When you live by your own moral compass, I literally never do anything that I think is wrong, because I get to decide what I think is wrong. And you know what I mean? I don't have a list of some old guy made the desert 3,000 years ago or whatever.
Oh, the moral code. I think it's simple. I think it's easy. And I think we, as human beings, complicate it for some reason.
Yeah.
I think you're born with like an internal alarm that tells you what's right and wrong.
Unless you're a psychopath,
unless
or
you're,
a sociopath, or my ex-wife, or whatever. I'm kidding. Zing. She won't listen to this.
Well, that's the second part you talked about. You had a shitty year. Is that the best way to describe it? Or a couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I guess in the span of, about 16 or 18 months, I lost my business. I was basically kind of forced to close my business. I kind of came to financial hurdles that I could not surmount unless I went further into debt, and I didn't see the light at the end of that tunnel.
Is it real estate?
No, this is after I had failed in real estate. I'm going to fail at comedy any day now. It's funny, the things I've failed, well, maybe not real estate, but so yeah, I lost my ass quite literally in the real estate bubble and crash. I was doing pretty well at it in my 20s, and kind of like out ahead of the pack of all of my friends. Not that money is a competition, it shouldn't be, but my friends were like, dude, by the time I pay off my student loans, you'll be retired. As I had a bunch of rental houses and stuff as a young guy, and money was really important to me. Hopefully I wasn't a dick about it. I never cared about like having Gucci slippers or anything like that, but I'm a car guy.
Money's a great thing.
Yeah, I just I liked to travel, I liked to party, I liked clothes, and and I, growing up, my best friend's family was very, very wealthy. Mm-hmm. And we were regular people. I mean, we certainly weren't poor. My dad was a pharmacist.
That's the thing in Wilmington, the social economics. It's a wide range. Your children can literally be friends with multimillionaires.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Gastonia, North Carolina, which is probably the best city in the country. Just a cultural mecca. I'm kidding. We invented the mustache. we invented lowrider pickup trucks, I think. But yeah, so I think growing up around friends that had a lot more money than me, it wasn't an envious thing. It was just like, man, this is cool.
It's just
I want a full basketball court in my backyard. I want a helicopter.
Yeah, I think being exposed to people that have had money, it makes you as an adult want to. You see it's available, and that happened to me.
And also, I was around. Pay them a compliment. I was around people that had money, namely my best friend's families, and other friends were like, a couple friends like, this guy's dad's a doctor, this guy's dad's a lawyer, but my best friend's family had like like crazy money. And it never gave me a bad taste because they were such good people. His dad did a lot of stuff for a lot of people, and very kind and very humble and very simple.
A lot of rich people are.
It doesn't. Money doesn't make you evil.
Evil people.
Greed makes you evil. You know, sometimes you attract a lot of money because you're putting out good things and you're attracting abundance because you're living abundantly. And sometimes you have a lot of money because you've been poisoning sea lions for your whole life, and that's lucrative. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's shitty poor people.
Very shitty poor. That's a misnomer that I think a lot of people, like growing up.
I'm not mad at wealth. I'm mad at greed, and I'm real mad at greed. And that's there's nothing Christian about greed. There's nothing patriotic about greed. But yeah, so that kind of planted that in me, and I did that real estate hustle, and I was really crushing it for a young guy, and part of me would like to go back to it because I was kind of good at it. I was a pretty good carpenter, and I'm a really aesthetic person. I like to pick out colors, and my buddy's wife, I remember the first time I'd hung out with these people, the first time his wife had been to my house, this was years ago when I had my kind of big nice house. She walked in and she said, "Cliff, if I didn't know you personally, I would think that a gay man lives here." And I was like, that is a huge compliment. Thank you so much.
I wish I had it.
But I do. I like to arrange flowers. I like to landscape. I do bonsais. I have been an artist in a past life, so I like to
Did
create
you design
stuff.
Your website?
I told the guy what I want and stuff. I'm not tech savvy at all.
It has a very, the aesthetics of it was surprising to me.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you. That's cool.
Well, I'm not sure you want to pay.
Do what? It's not a compliment, is that what you're saying? Oh, thanks.
No, I'm kidding. It was just the aesthetic surprised me, but I could see the gate now that you make that.
Yeah. Well, we're about to redo it too. Because I'm broke. I mean, I'm a broke comedian. I was broke because I lost my ass in a real estate crash. That's kind of like not my fault. Everybody that had real estate lost their ass too, and I'm glad I did that in my 20s and not my 70s. Where I couldn't get back to the starting point. But then I used the last little bit of cash that I had. I held on to my primary residence because I thought, well, the market's going to recover and I'm going to flip this thing because I had so much equity in the house. I could not bring myself to lose the equity in the house. So I tried to hold on to this expensive house, two expensive houses out near Figure 8.
Okay.
And then I had a vacation rental / vacation home for myself in Asheville. And so I tried to hold on to these two expensive houses because I liked them, because I was attached to them, really, is the real answer. But thinking the market's going to recover and I'm going to hit a home run on both these houses and my net worth's going to be maybe what it was before the crash.
And you weren't a comedian at this time, or you were?
No, not at all. Okay. I mean, I've been this person my whole life. I've been silly and class clown, and I've literally been not fired from jobs because I've had a boss say, if you weren't so funny, we would have fired you because everyone really likes you being around, and and I'm like, well, thanks. But no, I'd never done stand-up. I'd been a huge fan of it my whole life. And I mean, memorized people's hours,
Mm-hmm.
But
okay, so going back, you had
So I lost everything. I took a little bit of money I had left, and I started that recycling business.
Okay, I didn't understand what the second business was.
The second business was recycling business, and I ran that for 8 years here in town, Green Coast Recycling. And it was very, very hard. I'm not a business person. I'm an awful business person. I didn't know that until I found out. I was good with real estate because it was just all me. I didn't have, I subbed out some stuff, but I didn't have employees. I didn't have hundreds of customers. So at one point we had about 500 residential customers and about 120 commercial customers. And then we grew it into roll-off dumpsters and all this stuff. And it was just a huge operation with a lot of moving parts, and it wasn't lucrative. It's like, if you drove up and looked at the business, you'd be like, man, these people must be killing it. But it just wasn't. The margins were too small. People, what we would have had to have charged to make it worth it, people didn't want to pay for recycling because no one gives a shit, to be honest.
Yeah. There's a rumor that everything goes down the same drain.
It's not true. It may be true in some cities around the country, and it may be true with some companies. but not here in town.
Yeah.
Occasionally stuff gets tossed that shouldn't, but there's a completely separated multi-stream recycling out on 421, and then a lot of it is actually getting transferred to a huge facility in Raleigh. So very, very little should be going to the landfill here. If people are saying they're recycling it, companies and municipalities in Wilmington, they probably almost always are. Anyway, there's some stuff that's flown under the radar, and I won't call out Wrightsville Beach for doing that, but Wrightsville Beach is, speaking of greed, it's like, how can we take advantage of this poor startup recycling company a little harder? Y'all didn't empty that one thing that day. We're going to cheat you out of $200. But anyway, so it was tough, and I just got to a point where I couldn't go further without putting myself or my wife at the time or whoever into further debt, and I just kind of refused to do that. And so,
but see, that's what I kind of liked about your comedy, because in, like, what is it called, Monday morning quarterbacking? Your comedy.
Oh yeah.
No, but what was, I thought you were really vulnerable. You were talking about your failures, and it was so relatable. I know many people who, have had unsuccessful businesses, and then they go on to have. In other words, hearing your set, I had no doubt that you're going to be successful again.
Yeah, I think life goes in cycles, and I think for me too, I think I had to find my thing to be successful at it, and I think this is my thing. I know this is my thing. So when I started to do stand-up,
because for only being for 6 years, I was looking at your bio, you've accomplished a lot. I mean, I know.
And I haven't updated that lately.
Tell us some of the things you won.
Oh man. I guess the first thing I won was Port City's Top Comic in Wilmington, which is actually a little more prestigious than it sounds. There's a killer comedy scene, and people can come from other cities and states to compete in it. So that was cool. And then I won Comedy Zone, is a comedy conglomerate that books like 50 clubs around the country. I won their Almost Famous award or contest or whatever that same year, or maybe the next year. And then I won the regional thing for this part of the country for Comedy Central's Up Next competition. And so I went to the semifinals in Boston and got to perform at the Wilbur Theater for like 1,400 people. Wow. Sold out show. That was real cool. That was still the biggest crowd I've performed for. Unfortunately, when second biggest crowd was this winter. I won Best of the Fest at Slow Comedy Festival, which is a really awesome comedy festival. And I got to perform in front of 1,000 people.
For me, for knowing, I even know comedians who've been doing this for 15, 20 years and haven't had that success and still do.
Yeah, good for them for not giving up.
But for you, to be as tight as you are with your set at 6 years is pretty amazing. It really is. Thanks.
I can't say that about myself, but I'll totally let you say it. I really love it. I think I am good at it, and I don't mind being confident about it, because it's the only, honestly, to balance out the confidence with some realness and some whatever. It's the only thing I've ever been really good at. I've been okay at a lot of stuff. I've been like pretty good at some stuff. This is the only thing I've ever felt really good at. And I feel probably more normal when I'm on stage than when I'm not.
When I first saw the ad that you were coming, I didn't know who you were.
That's hurtful. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm completely unfamous, for sure. I
saw that you were headlining, so I was kind of surprised, because you've been bringing some pretty, but then when I saw local, it said something reference to your local. Yeah. I was like, oh, maybe they're giving him maybe you lost the only
local. Yeah, they were like, man, his wife, his dad, his dog, let him headline. He's not funny, but put him up there.
I was like, maybe because they couldn't get.
I did it for free too.
So when I went, and then I saw that you were filming, or I think we started texting about doing the podcast before I went to see your show. Mm-hmm. So I think you must have mentioned the filming. So then I was really curious. Then I went to see it, and then I was like, you're like a legitimate headliner without the fame.
Yeah, thanks. I'm hoping it'll come. Some of the best comedians in the country you never heard of.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that are where I'm at that are, as long as they don't give up, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I feel like as long as I don't give up, which I don't intend to, that it's a matter of time.
I think you're very, very talented.
What's frustrating is when you do get a look and somebody looks at you and passes. That's what sucks. Like Comedy Central came out to, and I mean, I have an ongoing relationship with them, but like they came out to one of my shows in New York. It was a bad show. Well, not for me. I did as good as you can do in an empty room with 12 people and 10 comics, but it's like the night before I went up between Greg Fitzsimmons and Ari Shaffir and had the best set of my life in front of 100 people who were banging on tables. I mean, it was like I came off stage like, holy shit, please tell me somebody from the comedy industry is in this room right now. And my buddy who books the show, Jason Cantor, who's a great comedian, Cantor with a K, I came back to the back of the stage and I was trying not to like be too, I was really happy about the set and hating myself for not filming it. I had no idea Greg Fitzsimmons and Ari Shaffir were going to be on the show. Sam Morrill was on the show. Beth Stelling was on the show. Killer show. And I came back there and I was like trying not to smile too big. And he was like, dude, it's like, thanks, man. He's like, Ari Shaffir just said to Greg Simmons, who is this dude crushing right now?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I can just quit now and just like,
leave on a high note.
Yeah, I'll go back to driving a recycling truck. This is not going to get better. And I don't care about the fame. What I want is 500 people who like my comedy and came to hear what I have to say so that I no longer have to take the edges off. You know what I mean? And I don't do that because I have to, but there's stuff that I wish I could get away with that I don't always feel like I can, even in like a pretty liberal crowd. I want a crowd that's like, this is 500 of my fans. I don't give a shit about the famous stuff. I actually kind of prefer not to be famous.
The Mark Maron kind of like his fans are like Mark,
I think people...
like, what kind of comedian's career do you look at and go, that's one I wish I did?
I've been asked that question a few times, and it's hard to answer that.
Thanks for telling me I'm not original. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, you really blew it on that one. No, it's a great question. It's a really good question. I just got asked by other comedian friends. Okay. No one ever asked me on a podcast. I've only done a couple podcasts. I don't know why. Probably because I'm not famous. People are like, oh, he's in town. Who cares?
It was actually Grant.
He's great, man. What a nice guy. I'd buy a car from that guy.
I don't think he's working there anymore.
Really? Mm-hmm. I sold cars for, before real estate. I sold Mercedes. Me and the owner of the dealership's son were the youngest Mercedes salespeople in the country at the time.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if anybody younger has done it since then, but... and I was kind of good at it because I like cars a lot, and I like people. I mean, I just like talking to people as long as they're nice. And I didn't make a lot of money per car because I always felt like I wanted to give people deals because I liked them usually. But I sold a ton of cars, I'm still best friends with the owner of the Sun's dealer. We started there at the same time and got to know each other. He's one of my best friends. And that's where my wife and I got married, my ex-wife and I.
Oh, we haven't even touched on the divorce.
Yeah, so we had stoked to talk about that.
We had a parental death. We had financial ruin. And then...
my dog of 15 years, like literally my homeboy. That was... obviously not to downplay any of the other stuff, but for some reason that the dog like
breaks your heart.
It destroyed me the day that it happened. And I think because my dad was dying when I had to put the dog to sleep, because I was going and taking care of my dad during the day and then coming home to the dog at night. And it was just like, man, I can't. I told my wife, I was like, he's been ready. We probably should have put him to sleep 3 months ago. But it's just so hard to do it. But I also didn't want to let him just die because he got so bad. I mean, it's just cruel. It's just a difficult thing. But
you don't understand it until you go through it, because it's not natural to put someone down. It's not natural.
It's not. But it's it's obviously it's when it's humane. But they came to the house and put the vet, who's the sweetest person I've ever met, came and we all day I hung out with him and just like loved him. I gave him steak. I gave him alternating steak, salmon. He was like, dude, this is the best day of my life. This is the last day of your life. Is that funny? Should I say that on stage? It's too heavy.
Funny.
I don't have a joke for the dog yet. I say that in the bit. I'm like, my dog died. I don't have a joke for that because that shit's not funny.
That's actually kind of funny.
But we spoiled him so much, and some of his dog friends came over, and he and I laid out in the sun, and then she came and put him to sleep. And man, I several hours later, when I finally stopped crying, I told my wife, ex-wife, I'm not used to saying that yet. I was like, man, I bet you that lady thinks I'm a psychopath because she's probably never seen a man cry like that before. I couldn't stop, and I was crying for my dad too, I guess, that day. And but I couldn't do dad all day and then come home to the dog at night. It was just like it was too much. But then my dad was about I think my dad lived about 5 weeks after the dog, and then. And
this was 2 years?
That was May 27th of last year when my dad passed. And so I was doing shows because I didn't know he was dying at all when I booked myself out 6 months in advance as much as I can. And so when he got sick, he started having seizures and strokes. He had brain cancer. We didn't know it. He had skin cancer in the past and beat it, and it came back in his lungs and his brain. And he was a smoker, which is a super smart thing to do for everybody listening. You should definitely keep doing that. Really, really intelligent. I know there's a big upside to those cigarettes. You know, it's hard to walk away from all the benefits of them. But it makes my breath smell like shit, but at least my face is aging prematurely. Like, maybe it will kill me, but at least it's only $3,000 a year.
I used to smoke, and now, I mean, that's many
Yeah, me too, a decade ago. And
more. But I was like, you can't love yourself and be a smoker. That's my point.
And it's the most disgusting thing. People are like, but it looks cool. No, it doesn't. It makes you look like a redneck. Yeah. Like, it looks trashy. You smell awful. Your breath is gross.
Kissing an ashtray.
Your fingers are gross. Like, all of it's gross. But anyway, so lost my dad, and then like a week later would have been my parents' anniversary, and then a couple weeks later was my birthday and Father's Day was on the same day. You know, it was just a tough year altogether, and so that's part of why I went on that cross country tour. I just wanted to, not that I was running, I just needed.
It was your way.
I just really wanted to go live, you know. For him too. Like, go, anybody listening, live your life for people that can't too. Don't just do it for you. Like, he would have loved to have seen all that shit, you know. And I wish I could have taken him. By the time I was living my life in a way that I could have taken him to do things like that, he was mentally, he wouldn't have remembered, and we thought he had Alzheimer's, but he had brain cancer, and we didn't understand, you know. Somebody probably should have caught that. There's no sense in being mad about it. But they told us he had 3 to 6 months, and he died 15 days later. And so I didn't know it was going to happen that fast. I didn't know what gigs to cancel or which ones to keep. And so that gig rolled around, and I talked to we were all there almost every day. We, both siblings, my mom, extended family, friends. Everybody was rallying because he lost his mind. Like, you had to literally almost keep your hand on him all day, or he would fall, or he would try to eat something. He couldn't talk. He just shuffled. He would try to eat a sponge off the sink or a magnet off the refrigerator. I mean, it was just
hard to watch.
Oh God, it was hard to watch. It was the dying was the easier part of the thing, you know, watching that, and it was so exhausting. He was only asleep because the steroids that they were trying to slow the tumor down. It was too late to do any kind of chemo or radiation, but
so you go on the road to do a comedy tour. Your dog and your father pass away, and didn't you do some photography too along the way on the road?
Oh yeah, I do. I'm all the time now. Yeah, that's my sort of my second passion these days.
Photography.
Yeah, because I'm really I've dwindled my life down to very, very few material things, you know. So I don't have a lot of other hobbies, but photography is like, it doesn't really cost me anything to do it. I just use my phone and I see so much beautiful stuff. I've seen 21 national parks. And this in the time that all this is happening, and that's what kept me from, you know, going through all that hard stuff. In between that, I intentionally pursue things that I know bring me joy, and I intentionally avoid things that I know bring me darkness.
I mean, not knowing you and just hearing your story, though, I would just think that that's a beautiful way to honor your father, the grieving. I think what comes across in your comedy and in talking to you is, you know, whatever shitstorm your life may be, there's this confidence that you're going to get to the other side of it, because it's like watching you evolve. You're like on your stage, on your bit, you see the glimpse of, it's like you're a butterfly, Cliff.
So I'm only going to be alive for 30 days, is what you're telling me.
Okay. But you see the fact that you can just...
It's weird that you say that, because I have a butterfly tattoo on my ankle and above my belly button. So,
but no, it's the fact that you as a man can be this emotional, be this vulnerable, and process your grieving. Take this as a huge compliment. Puts you 100 times ahead. Most men. How old are you?
And isn't that a heartbreaking thing to realize?
Have you seen the...
Yes, I have. The Mask.
Yes.
The Mask I Wear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie, every man needs to watch it. It really resonated with me, and I was trying to live my life that way anyway. That movie made me want to like volunteer with young guys. It really did, and I'm not, because I'm not that good of a person yet. I'm still.
I was trying to convince my high school age kids to do a project based on... I made my son watch it as a...
Hypermasculinity being programmed into boys in this country, it's so detrimental to society. I mean, it creates so much violence
and anger. So many men are just
and internalizing stress, and not being emotional, and not letting go of, and not being cathartic ever, not letting stuff out it's literally physically bad for you. That will give you cancer.
It makes me sad. It makes me heart. Sad for so it's funny. I don't even know if anyone is going to understand, because I feel like we're talking in shorthand.
I think a lot of people have seen that. A lot of people have talked to me about that because of what you just said, that they, you know, that they say it's interesting how emotional you are, and have you seen this movie? And I say, yeah, you know, I was actually a bodybuilder who drove a monster truck until I watched that, and now I'm me. Changed. I'm kidding. But no, great movie. I'd love to meet the person that made it. I have great admiration for. But I wish everybody would watch it.
And I think you kind of personify that comes across in your. So it's like.
I want to. I'd like to be better.
We haven't even talked about the divorce. We got to the
Can we just not? Let me call my attorney first, I guess.
Yeah, don't say anything that you wouldn't.
I'm kidding. You know, I don't have to say anything that's not true. She actually messaged me and said, if you want to slander me on stage, then I'm gonna blah blah blah. You know, fight you on the divorce and whatever. And I said, I'm not slandering you. I'm not saying anything that's not true. Literally, I don't have to. I'll just say there was some infidelity, and it was very hurtful. And
on your trip, on your post your father,
yeah, I mean, a year after him passing, or 8 months after, but you know, and she has reasons. You know, I call them excuses, but she calls them reasons, and
you know.
But you know, it ended the marriage because I can't. It's not that I'm incapable of forgiving. I'm just not willing to stay in that energy, to stay in that. To me, I want a kind of love where that just is not even. It never crossed my mind that it would happen. I knew we weren't perfect. We struggled, you know, a lot.
How long were you married?
We were together for almost 7, married for almost 3. And, I was blown away by it. I mean, it was like, I was so happy to come home. I found out the night before I was coming home from the 4.5-month tour out west and through the Southwest. And she was supposed to come with me for a lot of that. And that changed into, she took a bunch of other vacations basically to not see me, which was kind of like, she's like, I'm going to Mexico. Now I'm going to Las Vegas. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you could come see your husband. It's pretty out here. You know, and it's like, I'm not in jail. I'm in Arizona and there's a sunset. But it is what it is. I mean, it's past, it's gone. It's literally not real. You can't touch it or change it. No, this just happened. I found out on April 15th, which is unfortunately for her birthday. And I had to do a show that night too. I did a show the night my dad died. I did a show that died after my dad died. I did a show the night that she confessed that to me. And,
how does that, tell me that night.
I talked about it for the first 20 minutes of my set. And, you know what I did? I have all these funny stories from just dating. Mm-hmm. Just being a single guy in the past, college, and I love women, and I don't mean that in a dirtbag way. I genuinely, I would honestly rather be around women than men most of the time. I love my guy friends, but I had a lot of fun as a single guy. I still love lots of my girlfriends, I'm still very close to a lot of people, but funny stuff, because other single girls do funny stuff, and single, when you're in your 20s and you're partying, and so there's all this funny stuff that's like, I mean, it's an hour of material at least. It literally could be a special probably. And my best friend was like, dude, you got to do something called like the girlfriend tour. Like you got to do all this material about these like past relationships because it's just so funny, mm-hmm. It's like the girl that told you she loved you after 3 dates or what, that kind of thing. So I just took that opportunity to do material that I never felt comfortable doing before. And I talked about it. That night, I actually had speaking of hypermasculinity and machismo, I punched a wall because that's what you do when you're a fucking idiot. And I was so angry, and I don't ever want to be in a relationship where I would punch a wall either. You know what I mean? And I had never had before in the 7 years we've been together. But I was just hurt, and I was mad, and I wanted to punch something, if I was outside, I would have thrown something. I don't know, but so my hand was bloody, and I punched the hole. I'm very strong, and I'm kidding. It's so dumb. I joked about the occurrence because this is arguably the dumbest thing I've ever done. So she kind of told me what happened, and I won't go into details for her sake, which I think is more than gracious. And there's a little bit of ego involved for me with this whole like don't talk about me thing. Like, hey, I'm a stand-up comedian, and you cheated on me in a hilarious and bizarre way. What planet do you live on where you think I'm not going to talk about it? But I'm not going to insult you. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say anything that's not true. And that's gracious. Like, a friend of a friend told me after the show, she said, listen, I've never met you, and I knew I was coming to see you, but I didn't know that you were the same person. We had mutual friends. She said, I didn't realize it until you got to the divorce material that you were her husband, because her friend is my friend, and I had heard that you were going on stage and, quote, taking the low road. And she said, I was watching your material, and I was crying. And all I could think was, this guy's not taking the low road. He's talking about his life.
You were processing. That's what I saw. I saw you were processing.
I don't insult. I don't use, And so to me, it's like telling the truth is not taking the low road. Yes. And if you think a comedian is not going to talk about what's happening in his life, well, he's probably not a good comedian then. I talk about my dad dying. I have jokes about when I met her. So I've got jokes about the end too. And
I mean, I can understand probably her fear, being.
I wouldn't want, don't live your life in a way that you don't want people to know what you do.
Exactly. Exactly. But as a woman, as a divorced woman, I would say gracious is a very accurate description. All I saw was you processing it. It was probably the rawest part of your bit, I thought. Mm-hmm. Whereas like with your dad and the finance, that was the part where there was more like the energy is like, whoa, like that's raw. You could feel.
Yeah. Some pretty good jokes, though.
Very good jokes. And that's what it was, I thought, really good. It was like, I didn't leave there being sad. I didn't want to, like...
Yeah, well, I tried to bring it back up at the end with the silly stuff and the music and the silly relationship jokes.
The Tinder and Bumble, which...
Dick pics and Tinder and...
I thought it was funny.
Swiping people in person. But yeah, so... I don't remember what was I saying?
We were talking about the divorce, and
I was coming home from that tour, and but we spent time together.
It was sort of the way I remember the bit was you didn't discuss how you found out, but it was something about the trips to Canada.
If I was just up there loose at some comedy club where nothing's at stake kind of thing, I probably would have gone into it more. I was just trying to keep it so tight for film. Mm-hmm. I really tried to remove as much as I could that felt superfluous. Mm-hmm. That's what you should do in comedy anyway, is kind of trim the fat and get rid of any word that isn't kind of necessary to what you're doing. But I just got a phone call from a guy that one of her friends' ex-husbands, and he was like, I know we're not really close, and I'm like, I'm not trying to ruin your life. I'd want to know if it was me, and it's just unfaithful, whatever. And I mean, he told me enough that I was like, yeah, this isn't a lie. If this guy's lying, then he's real crazy, but that was what I was told after that, was that he was lying and other people were lying, and it was very confusing. I felt like I was trying to solve a mystery, and that was a shitty feeling.
I've dated a few men who this has happened to.
Yeah.
And a couple common denominators.
Just don't worry about me being jaded moving forward, because I just won't get into a relationship where I have any doubt that person's not totally on my team.
I mean, that
Team Cliff, not Team Canada.
I'm not. The things I've noticed about it is, I think for men, it's so much more. It's the masculinity. There's so much more to that. Not that it's not as hard for a woman, but almost women kind of might expect it.
And then what a shameful fact,
right?
I don't feel lessened. I feel hurt, but I don't feel lessened.
How about trust? Because I've been the one like right after the girlfriend or the date.
I don't think there's going to be one right after.
You shouldn't, because it's like a bomb in your life.
There are people that I have strong feelings for, and I've spent time with people, and I definitely, I'm lonely. I would like companionship and the perks that go with that, but I can't be anybody's anything, I don't think, right now. I mean, part of me wishes I could, because I still want all the things I wanted that I thought I had, you know what I mean? But I've got some really, really, really good girlfriends who are really like such an important part of my life, and I had sort of disconnected from some of them, because it's like, it's like, why does my husband have so many girlfriends? But I like feminine energy and wisdom. I think women are more empathetic, and I just like them. But it's been good to connect with girlfriends I haven't seen in a long time. One of my girlfriends from college, she just went through a very similar thing, and we have a ton in common, and we've talked for hours on the phone and stuff like that. And probably the blessing, so the blessing when my dad died, the positive spin to that, I just watched this Will Smith movie called Collateral Beauty. Like collateral damage, like the side effect of, and it's really profound. I love him, and even though he's a Scientologist, but
me too.
Yeah. It's like, well, I don't care what form of magic you believe in, but that one's pretty fucking stupid. But anyway, super, super, super good movie. And I was already thinking in this way anyway. I think you have to, because you go through that much bad shit, you can either like let that turn you into an alcoholic, or go way down and crash and be, because I struggle with depression and all of that anyway. But I think the way to get through it is
know your triggers.
Focus on what you're grateful for, and try to find something beautiful inside of something awful. There's always definitely, there's always the seed of something good, even inside of something bad. Because when something goes out of your life, good or bad, it still makes space for something else to come in, and you got to make that good.
No, I completely agree. That's basically the whole blog and podcast is, I had a shitty childhood.
Yeah.
The shitty mom made me a good mom.
Yeah. Good for you.
Shitty dad gave me some great daddy issues.
Yeah, it can go either way, and I don't know what the secret is.
But I think being grateful, I write about that all the time. That's what that tattoo is.
That's awesome.
Do a gratitude journal every day. I suffer from depression. That's another topic that I talk a lot about. I know my triggers. I know what I have to do to, I'm not looking to be happy 100% of the time. 80-20, I'm good.
Yeah, and if you're happy 100% of the time, it means you're enlightened, and
I'm not there yet.
And it's a hard thing to get to, and I'm not there either. I want it. I think almost no human beings attain it, but I think if you're seeking it,
I think you're on the right path if you seek it.
If you're seeking it and you don't go back to being unconscious. I have days when I look back and go, man, the last 4 days I was out of my head. I was angry and like being mean and, just not saying hello to people and,
Yeah, I just had a little phase a few days ago, and I've been doing this for 5 years now.
Yeah.
That I fell off, I didn't meditate, I didn't do yoga, binge watch some TV. Like I could see, I have a certain pattern.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I saw that pattern, and I knew it was about fear. I had I'd written something or a podcast, and it was just something very vulnerable that I'd put out, and I just froze. I just didn't want to deal with anything.
Yeah.
But I had to I call it getting back on my mat. And that's a metaphor. There's a lot of things.
One of my girlfriends is like hardcore pulling me to yoga.
Oh,
and
totally. They're so beautiful when she's sweating. I don't understand why there's not more men.
She's a beautiful woman. I don't dislike it. I've never disliked it. I think in the past, and not so much now, because I think I'm a sort of a different person now, but in the past I was just self-conscious about not being flexible, maybe not being as in good a shape as I wish I was, that kind of thing. And I definitely didn't need to meet women in yoga class because I had a wife. But she would have liked me to do yoga. I did it once with her. I've done it once with my friend.
Meditated?
I meditate all the time. Okay. And so my friend Erica, who's awesome, she's on Instagram, Shine Wild Yogi. She teaches 25 yoga classes a week.
Wow.
She teaches yoga to homeless people at a homeless shelter. She's a super awesome person. But so I've done it twice with her, but she said, it was a big compliment. She said, you already live that way. But I just don't physically do yoga.
And that's only one of the limbs, and you don't have to do all the limbs.
Yeah. I'm totally down to do it, but yeah, I'm in a place where I want to be able to meditate more and longer, and I'm seeking
what
those
style
things.
Do you do? Like, if you don't mind me asking.
I sit in nature and try to not think about anything. Almost always with my eyes open.
Oh. That's very common. Most people, there's misnomers about meditation. People think it's like one way. It's like there's infinite ways to find it.
And definitely breathing. I really love Eckhart Tolle, and so I'll listen to little instructional things from him, which are very simple.
Have you listened to Wayne Dyer?
Not a lot. I know who he is. I think he's great. My sister is a big fan. I've got some stuff of his. I've read. I feel like I read one short book, and then I've seen him on some documentaries and stuff. But yeah. So to me, getting through all the stuff was finding the beauty in things. And when my dad died, the beauty was seeing unconditional love in my family, seeing people come out and talk about him and tell me about him and tell me about the things that he did for them that he would have never told anybody. You know, if they wouldn't have told us, we wouldn't have known. He gave me money to help me with college, that he used to bring me groceries, and my mom didn't even know.
Aww.
He was such a good guy. And that was a blessing, you know.
Yeah,
it was like, man,
blessing.
I said that on stage. I said, you know, when he died, when he was gone, I mean, this is a guy who I already thought, like, moved mountains, you know. But when he was gone, I was even more impressed by him because of all of that.
That's amazing.
And I wrote a lot about him, and it's some of the best, not really comedy, but just my feelings. And I'm not even that kind of writer, you know. I don't really write. I write jokes, but I wrote some emotional pieces, like maybe 6 or 8 of them, and they were pretty good. And I liked doing it, and I liked sharing it. And so that was a blessing. And just seeing my sister is gay, and my family's very, 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 very religious and conservative, all the way to the right, Rick Santorum kind of status. So that's how you turn into who I am. And part of my progressive values are because I have a gay sister that I felt like I needed to go to bat for all the time, and not just for her, but for all of my friends and loved ones who are gay or different in whatever way, or who are not a straight white Southern male or whatever I am. And that's what changed me with my mindset. She told me when I was 15, and I stopped repeating stupid shit that I had heard as a young person immediately, you know. And people would say things around me in this southern town I grew up in, and I would say, "Hey, dude, my sister's gay. If you don't want to say that again, you sure as shit don't want to say it around me, you know." And because I'm really macho and I'll punch a wall. Oh, I didn't get to tell you. So the dumbest thing I've ever done, and I talked about this the night that I found out about this stuff with my wife. I had to do an hour of comedy. And I told them I went on stage, and this is an awful joke. This is something I probably would never say again on stage, because I don't think that violence is funny. But I went on stage, and my hand was very clearly, something was wrong with my hand. And I said, now you guys are probably wondering what's going on with my hand. You're probably thinking I'm like a mixed martial arts fighter or something, and you'd be right to think that with my physique. But actually what happened was I just found out my wife had been unfaithful, and I beat the shit out of her. And everyone's like, ooh. And I was like, guys, I'm kidding. I hit her one time. I just felt like once, you know. And then I go into my thing, was like, I'm kidding. I'm a really progressive person. I'm a feminist. I'm a kind person. I would never hit a woman. I could pretty confidently say I'd never hit anyone unless I thought I had to. But I'm such a progressive that it almost felt unequal, because I'm pretty sure if she did to me what I did to her, she would have hit me 1,000 times and maybe tried to stab me. So then I went back in the house and just hit her one time, because I'm a feminist. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? It just felt like, how old-fashioned am I going to be right now? Is this the 50s? So that got good laughs, and then I told the crowd what happened, and I don't think I want to say it on the podcast right now.
And that was April.
It was April 15th. I was
this year, 2018.
Yeah, a couple months ago.
Fuck.
And so and then I went into telling all these sillies. You know, I told them, I did most of the jokes that I did about my divorce this weekend. I wrote driving from here to Raleigh to do that gig. In my head, I'm thinking to myself, this is so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that this is happening, and the way that it's happening, it's awful, but it's kind of hilarious. And it's really hilarious that it's happening to a stand-up comedian. You know what I mean? So I did all that. But anyway, the dumbest thing about all of it is she tells me what happened. I punch a wall, and then while I had been on tour, she had bought some new art, and it was just ugly. It was ugly art, and we both kind of pride ourselves on having good taste. We're both into like interior design and mid-mod and whatever. And so I grab the art off the wall and I throw it and I go, "This is ugly art." And then I spilled Sundrop all over the hallway because I was like, I was in this dark place where I need to like go back to my vices. Like, I'm gonna eat barbecue and drink Sundrop because I'm really just a mad redneck. And so I spilled Sundrop all over the hallway and threw art and punched a wall. It was like, that'll show her. And then I left and I never went back. But the day I got the phone call, so I was talking about Collateral Beauty, the great movie, see that. The beauty in this thing for me is several parts. Now I'm going to do all this material I never felt comfortable doing out of respect for my wife and my marriage. And also having women in my life come out of the woodwork to tell me what they think of me. 20-something-year-old women I've worked on environmental activism stuff with, 70-year-old women who've followed me for 5 years because of my 70-year-old women I've dated. Is that what you thought I was going to say? Jesus, why did you laugh so hard at that?
I thought you were saying all these women were hitting on you.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, okay, I probably should have started that differently.
That I was in the wrong.
No, what a cocky thing that would have been to say. All these women come out of the woodwork and try and get a piece of this.
See, you're putting yourself down, and I was actually thinking, I could totally see that.
I wouldn't. If that's not the case, and if it were, I sure wouldn't verbalize it on any kind of recording or to a person. No, but people messaging me and say, I watch you, I see you, I see what you've gone through, I see what you're going through, and I love you, and I think you're a really good person, and.
Don't those make you feel? That's what
I mean. People that I know well, and people that just like my comedy and follow me on social media, and other than female comedians and old girlfriends old girlfriends relationship wise, but also just female friends from college, and I got 2 really close girlfriends that are lifelong friends, and just coworkers and neighbors, and just to have that energy and like that kindness and love from a lot of women in my life, like it was a huge blessing. And it was like, man, I'm a pretty okay dude, and with all this love and support, I need to make sure I stay that way, and like not prove them wrong. You know what I mean? I need to try and be a good guy. Yeah. And so
have you? Because it's 3-4 months, so you're pretty really raw about it. But
yeah, it's 2 months because it was April 15th and it's now June 26th.
I'm not good at math. My listeners.
You really blew it on that too. Jeez, I'm just gonna go. Okay.
But the point you made, I think, is a great point, which is because tragedy befalls everyone. I think if we're realistic, like Facebook does not give you that perception. Everyone thinks social media that everything's wonderful and great all the time. And I, not knowing you, just watching your show, talking to you today, seeing, you get emotional just talking about your life.
I've been crying the whole time. The listeners can't see that. I'm always just trying not to cry. That's the real truth.
But I think it's a beautiful thing that you're just living so authentically and so honestly. And I have no doubt, not knowing you, I have no doubt you're going to be successful, that you're going to turn this around, and that you're going to find the blessing and all that. And I can completely relate to that because, for me, when I knew that my divorce was truly behind me was when I could be grateful for it. When I was like, okay, because mine was nothing like yours, no infidelity, but it was a contentious divorce. We had children, so there was some issues there.
It's tough.
And it was brutal, and it was a hard process, and it took years. It's someone gave me that wonderful advice. Divorce is a process. It's not something you're gonna heal from, in a short amount of time.
Well, thanks for the pep talk. I'm kidding.
No, but you know what? I think it's a beautiful thing because how I'm grateful for it is, first of all, it gave me my children. Can't help but be,
sure,
grateful.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense to regret things because you can't. It's just useless to do.
And it has shown me how to relax meditate, breathe. Like I needed all these tools to deal.
That was the time that's when you awakened the most.
Yeah. It was, the way I describe it is, if your life gets thrown an atom bomb, then take the reconstruction seriously to create the life that you want.
Sure.
I'm doing this podcast with you.
Another chance.
Wrote my blog, have a job. I'm about to go on a flight to Miami. Then I'm going to Paris.
Can I go to Miami and Paris? Or is that...
No, I'm just saying...
What time are we leaving for that?
I'm leaving soon.
I'm kidding.
But 5 years ago, at the height of the suffering and the pain and the shit storm that was my life, I never thought, I couldn't see today.
Sure.
But today comes, and then, I have complete faith that you're going to be famous, successful, and then you're going to I did this shitty podcast many years ago.
I will do this podcast anytime you want me to. If I get famous...
You're going to come back.
Absolutely. That's not who I am. You're cool. You're a good person. I'll do your podcast anytime. I'll call in from my castle and the cliffs of Ireland. I'm kidding.
So do you want to give up your social media?
I do. I would love that. The main thing I really kind of would like to have more followers on is Instagram, and that's at Cliff Cash Comedy. 2 F's, cash like money, that I do not have. Cliff Cash Comedy. And my Instagram stuff that I do a little video series called Your 15 Seconds of Zen, and that's the hashtag. And then I've got this adventure mobile outside. I'm trying to put 1,000,000 miles on it, and so it's a 1,000,000 mile Mercedes hashtag, and then hashtag every national park. And that's my things, and I'm still on tour. I'm really literally on almost full-time tour, and so I use the hashtag Never Ending Tour 2017. And Facebook is just Cliff Cash Comedy. Maybe I don't have a lot of Facebook likes or whatever on that, but I've got a lot of videos out there. I think my best one, if you just Google Cliff Cash Dead Crow, that's the last hour that I recorded at Dead Crow. It's a couple of the jokes I'm doing on this because it wasn't like an official special. I don't feel like I have to ditch them and add all new stuff. But that's out there. I'm on Pandora and Spotify and occasionally on XM Radio. I'm working on more of that. And if you like any of the photographs on Instagram, you can just message me on Instagram if you'd like to buy one. I actually print them and mat them and sell them with a CD. And if it's through the mail, through the web, it's $30. I sell them at my shows too. But right now I have 6 photographs featured on my website. They're all from California, like Joshua Tree, Yosemite, Death Valley, that kind of thing. So yeah, if you like photography and you want a little, it's cool to they're so cheap. It's cool to get 4 and put them in frames and have like a little grid on like a small wall, like above a desk or something. See what I'm saying? I'm like giving people like interior decorating tips.
Could be a reminder to you. Look at those and say you're going to overcome your hardships.
Yeah.
Because I listened to this podcast and his life is pretty shitty right now.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't feel that way.
I say that in complete jest.
I know. But it's funny, like, if this would have all happened to me back when I was, and I always think I've been a pretty decent person, but I was asleep. I was absolutely would only focus on my disasters and what was negative and tell whoever would listen about a negative experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not see the good in it. And only,
that's the testament to your being an evolved man.
Yeah, and if I had gone through all these things, this year and a half of stuff, then I might not be here.
Oh.
Really, because my depression then
was bad.
was significant, and my coping with it was non-existent. And now, like you said, I know my triggers are. A lot of it is the winter and grayness.
Let's compare. Mine's winter.
Yeah.
Holidays.
Yeah.
Any day that's
family stuff.
Yeah. Any day that's like
hard,
everyone's
man.
celebrating. It doesn't matter. I'll always feel, and I hope I shouldn't speak in absolutes, but I tend to always feel like I'm not part of the human race. Like, what? I don't understand. Joy?
Oh, man.
But, so that's a trigger. Holidays are a trigger. dating is a trigger for me. I don't date well.
Yeah, it's stressful.
If it's
feels stressful right now, at least.
It's that's a trigger. And what else? Winter.
Winter is a big thing for me. I mean, just as far as just like circumstances, like, I mean, negative, there's a lot of things, but the big thing for me is I'm very seasonally affective, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's so funny that acronym is SAD. The social anxiety disorder acronym is SAD. It's just like, it's just all sad, literally. But that was also a big part of that tour out west and through the Southwest, was like, I saw in my mind coming, like, the dog's gone, my dad's gone, a lot of shit's hard right now. I don't think I can be in North Carolina in the winter. I'm not going to do good this winter going through this stuff. And instead, I'm going to go have a bunch of adventures where it's warm and dry. And
that's what I'm doing. Usually when my kids leave for an extended period of time, they're with their father for a few weeks. And you get
down, so instead you're going to go have some fun.
In the first few years,
awesome.
I used to be a trigger, and now I'm like, all right, I know this isn't happening, so what am I going to do?
Well, that's exciting that you're going on that trip. That's incredible. I want to say one thing, because in a total utilitarian sense, in hopes that if somebody is listening to this who is struggling or is in a funk or just hasn't quite found their way where they are right now.
Which, let me tell you, is most of my listening audience.
Okay. Well, and it's all of us. We're all trying to figure it out. I was just telling this to an ex-girlfriend who's a close friend. She's going through some hard stuff, and she's like, how are you doing this? How are you? Because we talked, and she was like, you sound really happy. And I said, well, I don't feel like I have found joy, and I don't feel like it can be taken away from me, at least not permanently, and at least not for long. And so my trick is, and I think this kind of comes from reading Eckhart Tolle, and also maybe just sort of morphing what I pick up from him into my own stuff. When I feel when I get really down and I'm feeling negative and I'm focusing on my disasters and not my blessings, I try to go out into nature first thing, just change my actual setting. I don't like to be inside very much at all. I typically kind of only be inside if I'm really worn out or like asleep, or it's, at night or whatever. But so I'll go outside and get some nature and go look at something beautiful. And I will list, sometimes literally, I'll sometimes write it down or put it in my iPhone notes. I'll list things that I'm grateful for, and I'll do it until I start feeling so grateful that I cry or whatever. And
do you do this every day or just when you're...
I do it when I think I need to. I feel like it's literally my, portal back into joy, because I can't be grateful and not be joyful. And so I'll even, if I feel like I need to, I'll share what I'm feeling grateful about. I'll text my best friend and say, hey, thanks for having my back. Thanks for coming to New York City and being with me after this happened. And my best friend, the guy from the wealthy family, he came. Now here I am, living in my car, eating halal food off the carts in Manhattan. And he's comes up and rents this badass room at the nicest hotel. We go out and drink $15 craft cocktails and eat all the places that have been on the Food Network and.
I need a friend like that.
Yeah, it was so much fun. But I just thanking my mom for being such a rock through all of it, and just that unconditional love, and just listening in my head or listening literally, and communicating gratitude. And
see, I do it every morning. I get my
that's
cup of
wonderful.
coffee.
I mean, that's what prayer is. It's and that's people sometimes. Well, because I talk about religion a lot, especially in the hour before this one.
I know, we're going to have to split. You're going to be a 2-podcast guest.
Oh, really? Well, that's good. I'm superfluous in every sense of the word. I will send you a 3-page email that could have been a sentence. You know what I mean? I'm the guy that leaves 3-minute voicemails. But I talk about religion a lot, and sometimes people will go, why are you so anti-religion? And I go, no, I'm not anti-religion. I'm anti-bigotry and I'm anti-fear, and I'm anti-greed, and I'm anti-war, and I'm anti-racism, I'm anti-homophobia, and none of that is anti-religion. I like Jesus. Jesus was a real good dude.
See, I think Jesus was an enlightened man.
I do
think
too.
He was the Son of God.
I do too. I think he was the Son of God.
As I am the daughter of God,
Right.
not as a
born
of a virgin.
We all are, and God is all things. And
Wilmington. For me to come out as basically hey, I'm not Christian. I'm spiritual, I believe. But I'm not Christian. Was like. I'm like, you could accept me as an atheist, but
I'm all of it. I'm all of it. I'm Christian and Buddhist, and I'm not Scientologist, but I will, with maybe very few exceptions, there's not much that Buddha or Jesus or any of those people said that I won't try to live by.
No, I think Jesus and Buddha have met, like I've studied all the,
Sure, yeah.
And when you step back and you look at most of the major religions and you take away the law of man and you just look at the message, it's all very simple. It's not that difficult. Basically, don't be an asshole.
Yeah, that's so funny because I say that, that's not on the recording anywhere, but I say that in my show a lot. It's 10 Commandments seems like a lot. Probably could have just had one. Like, hey, don't be an asshole. What about thou shalt not kill? No, that's an asshole thing to do. That falls under the don't be an asshole part.
Yeah. So I'm looking at my gratitude journal today. I wrote, what did I write? And this is sometimes
grateful for me. Probably the first thing. Nope, not even on the list. All right, I'm done.
I said I'm grateful for my friends and grateful for my blog and podcast. I'm grateful for my kids are with their dad enjoying summer, and I'm grateful for my home.
It's a nice home.
Thank you.
You guys should all come see her home. It's nice. Is there a pool? There is a pool. You told me. Oh, man. We'll start playing baseball.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. That was I have two.
Now he just made a baseball reference, and they're not going to get it. Now we got to tell the baseball story.
I have two college-age
baseball players. Lucky you.
They are no.
How do you? I haven't said your name out loud. I've read it and texted it. Is it Marisol? Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful name.
Thank you very much.
Never heard anybody else have that name. I like it.
Thank you. I hated it when I was growing up.
Really?
I hated it. It's not till I turned, in my 40s that I have come to appreciate it. So there's two college-age baseball players staying in my home because my daughter's best friend parents managed the team. It's a summer league, and they needed hosts. So two of them snuck out while we were recording. It was funny.
Yeah. They are definitely super quiet.
They're super quiet, and they're super polite. They keep calling me ma'am.
Oh, nice.
I hate that. I'm not from the South. So ma'am is just.
Where are you from?
I was born in New York, raised in Miami, Hialeah, to be exact. Yeah.
Wow, nice.
Google it. No.
Have you been to Coral Castle?
No.
How long are you going to be in Miami?
A week.
You should go to Coral Castle.
Where is it? In Coral
It's fascinating.
Really?
I think it's probably in Homestead. If it's not, it's close to there. It's not far outside of Miami.
I'll be in that area. That's where my family.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, most of this week is not fun. This week is mostly my mother has Alzheimer or dementia, and so it's doing the daughter thing. Yeah.
Well, get a fun day in there so that can help you stay in your joy.
I do. I have a plan.
Good.
So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
I
love doing it. Sorry I cried on your microphone. Hope it didn't break it.
I thought that was super sweet.
I was trying not to. I didn't cry on stage all 4 shows, and I was pretty fascinated by that.
I wanted to come in and give you a hug, but I was like, I would make too much noise on the mics.
Oh, no. Thanks. It's all right.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening.
I was hugging myself.
Yeah, no. You're going to be great. I have no doubt. You're going to be on the other side of this.
I'm already.
All right. Thanks, guys, for listening. Bye.
Did you have a good time listening to this episode? Well, then be sure to check out Marisol's blog at shityoucan'tmakeup.com or find her on Instagram at Marisol's Podcast or, of course, on Facebook. I'm Sean, the producer, and you can hear me on my podcast, Dadson, all one word, Dadson, Funny and candid conversations between a father and a son about something. Hey, we'll see you next time.